Everyone, welcome to the latest Jargus Ranger Review. This week we'll be looking at the holiday special for Megaforce, the Robo Night Before Christmas. And right off the bat, I'm gonna have to say this is a hell of a lot better than the one we had for Samurai a couple years back. They used a different kind of music for the establishing shots this time, and I really like it. I think it sounds cool. Plus, it's at nighttime, which we hardly ever see with Power Rangers. Ever. Anyway, we start out with a Robo Night on the rooftop, looking at people getting ready for Christmas. What else? But the Rangers are at Ernie's. Yeah, he's actually relevant again. And the guy bumbles in, makes a mess, and they go to clean it up. And Noah goes to throw some trash out, where he sees Robo Night, who asks him what everyone is up to. So of course Noah has to try to explain to him what Christmas is, in the most generic ways possible. Robo Night simply says he wants to investigate further. But then Noah says he has to see it up close to understand. So he puts a Santa hat on Robo Night and puts him inside, and has him disguised as a big toy. And Robo Night says he'll just have to stand still for at least 24 hours. And of course, gullible Robo Night won't do just that, having no clue what's going on. But I think Noah was not paying close attention because the tree he was next to was for gift donations to Africa. So Robo Night gets mixed with them and gets shipped overseas. And while being transported, he begins to wonder what's next, what to do now. Eventually all the gifts are taken to a small village, filled mostly with kids. And all that's left is a big box, and when they wonder what's in it, it opens on its own and Robo Night walks out, still wearing that Santa hat. And the first thing they ask him is, "Are you Santa?" Yeah, you can really tell this is a kid's show. And of course he says, "No, I am Robo Night, defender of the environment." So the kids start to ask about him and ask what Christmas is like for him. And he says he's learning from his friends, the Power Rangers, what it is. And then they have this little campfire thing, and they start to explain to the kids who they are and what kind of people they are. And this is done entirely through flashbacks. That's right, we get 2 clip shows this time. But this one is a lot better than the Halloween one. The one thing I thought was strange is, way back when Robo Night was first introduced, they say he was awakened by the earth, but when the kids are asking about him, he says that Gosei woke him from his hibernation. So, which is it? Or is Gosei considered part of the earth? Then midway through, the water starts boiling, and turns out the kids are making a soup that they all need to eat. So Robo Night learns how to fix that, and from here on, the kids call him Robo Santa. Now that would be amazing if Robo Night of all people became Santa Claus. So he continues his recollections of what he's learned of his time in modern Earth, and that includes when he raps. If you don't know what I'm talking about, be glad you missed that episode. But eventually, the kids fall asleep. So before he flies back to Big City, yes, the name of the city in Megaforce is just called Big City. I am completely serious. Robo Night takes the Christmas tree, puts it near where the kids are sleeping, and uses his power to give it enough energy to be lit up for about a day. No, just through Christmas. Then he flies back to his rooftop at night. But lo and behold, there is a Christmas present waiting for him. And he opens it up and it's a snow globe that has all the Rangers in it. And when he shakes it, it starts snowing for real. And then he looks down at the streets and he says, "To all a good night." This was a very simple episode with no conflict whatsoever. And yet I think it's my favorite episode of the season. Yeah, because a couple things have been bugging me in the back of my mind about Megaforce that I didn't touch upon. Mainly like the severe lack of characterization. Now I'm guessing because I kind of gotten used to it already with Samurai, it was just slightly better at Megaforce. But Robo Night stood out because he actually had a huge character arc. I mean, about half the season was about him learning about humanity, pretty much gaining his own humanity, and developing his own sort of emotions. And the way he talked to those kids really showed it. he didn't see them as kids. He saw them as people that he could help out and were actually interested in what he had to say. So unlike most kids shows, he actually did talk down to them. It's kind of rare when you have something like Power Rangers, which doesn't really go very complex for its writing. Really, it's a nice little charming episode. Now, when you think about it, it had almost all of the civilian footage of the Rangers, which surprisingly wasn't that much, even though it was 20 episodes. Mainly because episodes went straight into the action. And if you're just looking for the action in Power Rangers, well, this season has you covered. But you really can't attach anything to any of the characters, except Robo Knight, because he's the only one they've actually dedicated any kind of time to actually developing. I mean, the others have their moments, but that's pretty much just a little expansion of the initial traits they had from the beginning. The Rangers barely grew at all as characters, whereas Robo Knight was made more complete. So now this really just makes me sad that he went missing at the end of the last episode. I really want to know what happens to him with Super Megaforce. And so this episode gets an A+, 10 out of 10. It's definitely the most satisfying episode to watch of Megaforce, even though it's the most pointless of them all. This is Jargus. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next year for Super Megaforce. Until then, may the power protect you.